In episode 6, all Crimson Lords gathered in one room for a meeting, except Petros Calamaria. Therefore, there were 6 individuals present, along with Empress and Vilhes. Float opened the meeting and presided over it. She stated that their agenda for the day was singular: whether Kamari is fit to serve as a Crimson Lord or not. Since Kamari assumed the position of Crimson Lord, her forces have never been defeated. The achievements Kamari has accomplished have indeed impressed everyone, but no one has witnessed her in actual combat. Metal asserted that Crimson Lords symbolize military strength and are destined to crush enemies with the power gained through training. Metal then asked Kamari if she understood this concept, to which Kamari replied that she indeed did. Heldius interjected, stating that Metal was the one who didn't understand. Truly strong individuals do not oppress the weak, and Kamari firmly adheres to that principle. Float continued, expressing suspicion that Kamari may have falsified her abilities. She allowed Kamari to refute the accusation, but Kamari simply responded that she was the strongest. Float denied this as a valid counterargument, adding that she had other evidence proving Kamari's unsuitability as a Crimson Lord. She tossed a sheet of paper, revealing Kamari's academic record from the Imperial Academy, where her magical and physical abilities were rated the lowest. Additionally, Float mentioned Kamari dropping out of school and questioned her whereabouts for the past 3 years, wondering if she had secluded herself. With bowed head, Kamari replied that it was none of Float's concern. Float further accused Kamari of obtaining the position of Crimson Lord due to her family connections, as the Gandis blood family is aristocratic and can easily elevate an underachieving daughter to the status of a Crimson Lord. Float also alleged that Kamari merely sought fame and praise, producing and selling cheap merchandise. Empress interrupted Float, asking if she had concrete evidence that Kamari aspired to fame and became a Crimson Lord solely because of her family. Empress emphasized the need for a thorough investigation before passing judgment in a Crimson Lord meeting. Float agreed with Empress's statement but insisted that Kamari lacked the demonstrated abilities required for the role. Before Empress could continue, Kamari interjected, crossing her legs on the table, telling Float that the words of a lesser individual wouldn't reach the ears of the strong. Float became highly emotional and challenged Kamari to a fight. Kamari accepted the challenge, expressing her desire for it. However, she proposed a test to determine if Float was worthy of facing her by first battling Kamari's maid, Vilhes. With a flat expression, Vilhes refused. Panicking, Kamari suggested postponing the fight with Float to another time. The meeting resumed with a vote on Kamari's dismissal. Only Sakuna and Heldius supported Kamari remaining as the Crimson Lord. Float laughed happily, as this meant 3 people agreed that Kamari should step down. However, Vilhes interrupted, stating that the vote was not yet complete because they didn't know the number of people opposing it. Empress agreed with Vilhes, as the 3 of them didn't explicitly say they supported Kamari's resignation. Empress then invited those in favor of Kamari stepping down as Crimson Lord to raise their hands. It turned out only 2 people raised their hands, Float and Metal. Seeing this, the count was balanced, with 2 in favor and 2 against. Float tried to persuade the silent Delphine to raise her hand too, but she remained still. Metal then checked Delphine's pulse and discovered that she had already passed away. Panic spread among everyone, and Float suspected terrorism. Whispering to Kamari, Vilhes confessed to being the culprit. She revealed poisoning Delphine before the meeting, suspecting Delphine would agree to Kamari's dismissal. Metal, still near Delphine, didn't see any wounds on her body, leading him to conclude that Delphine died from poisoning. Naturally, Metal and Float suspected Kamari as the perpetrator, as she seemed to be the only one with a motive. However, Kamari vehemently denied it, demanding proof as accusations without evidence were mere allegations. Unable to contain her emotions, Float raised her sword towards Kamari, declaring a general's war against her. Float stated that if Kamari lost, she would have to cease being the Crimson Lord, and, if Float lost, she would grant one request from Kamari. Panicking, Kamari couldn't refuse the challenge. Metal interjected, suggesting a test for both Kamari and Sakuna, the new Crimson Lord, proposing a war between Crimson Lords. Hearing this, Empress became enthusiastic and immediately approved. The war between Crimson Lords was the greatest entertainment the Crimson Lords could provide for the people. Empress ordered them to fight to the death with their full strength. The meeting was over, and Kamari found herself in her room. She reflected, imagining herself exploding like fireworks in the sky. Vilhays brought dinner to her room. Kamari regretted why she had to go through all this trouble when she didn't want to be a Crimson Lord. Vilhays then asked, "What does Kamari want to be?" Kamari replied that she wanted to be a novel writer. She also shared that after yesterday's meeting, she gave her latest novel to Sukuna because she wanted to know her friend's impression. Kamari said it was her friend's work. Vilhays then inquired if Kamari had a pen name. Kamari answered that she didn't have one and wrote her name on the back of the first page of the manuscript. Kamari panicked, thinking Sukuna might have found out. She immediately ran to Sukuna's place. In Sukuna's room, Sukuna had just finished dinner with Heldius, and Heldius bid farewell. In the pouring rain outside, Kamari ran, hoping Sukuna hadn't read it yet. On the way, she crossed paths with Heldius, but didn't pay him any attention. Under the umbrella, Heldius said goodbye to Kamari and wished her well. When Kamari arrived at Sukuna's place, she was soaking wet. Kindly, Sukuna allowed Kamari to change clothes. Sukuna handed her a set of clothes with Kamari's face on it. Kamari didn't want to wear it, and after coming out of the bathroom, she intended to ask for different clothes. However, what she saw shocked her. In Sukuna's room, there were numerous photos of Kamari and many statues resembling her. Sukuna then admitted that she liked Kamari. Kamari tried to calm Sukuna, saying that everyone has different hobbies, and she also has secrets that can't be told to others. Sukuna immediately quipped, "Is it writing novels?" Yes, it turns out Sukuna had already read it and found Kamari's name on the back of the first page of her manuscript. Kamari and Sukuna then sat together. Sukuna expressed her worries about the war between Crimson Lords, feeling very weak and not wanting to fight against Kamari. Kamari suggested forming an alliance, as she already considered Sukuna her friend. Sukuna was delighted to have Kamari as her friend, considering her the first. Kamari then proposed that Heldius also collaborate with them, stating that he was trustworthy and had cared for Sukuna after her family's tragedy. Despite having a family, Sukuna was raised in an orphanage. Kamari speculated that Sukuna's family might have been resurrected using the dark core. However, she was puzzled about Sukuna being in an orphanage. Sukuna smiled and showed a photo of her family. She revealed her sister's name as Kamari, mentioning the beautiful Razi Delphius memory. Kamari asked for clarification, and Sukuna explained that she could perceive someone's mental form. Sukuna then held Kamari's hand, startling her with its coldness. Sukuna explained that the Sapphire race had no body temperature, and their bodies were as strong as steel among their characteristics. Kamari remained silent. Sukuna then invited Kamari to see the stars outside, suggesting that it would be better for Kamari to witness something beautiful for the last time. The scene shifted to Chasto, walking down a corridor, envisioning the massacre of Crimson Lords orchestrated by Kamari. He couldn't wait for it. Suddenly, a man greeted him and asked for Chasto's opinion on Sukuna's troops training rigorously, engaging in constant internal strife while continuously mentioning Sukuna. The man found it strange, as until recently, Sukuna was an unnoticed weak girl. He also expressed fear of Sukuna, believing her to be more dangerous than an ordinary Crimson Lord. Sukuna and Kamari were now outside, gazing at the stars. Sukuna remarked that Kamari's memories were organized like constellations. Kamari was confused by Sukuna's words. Sukuna continued, asking for Kamari's opinion on terrorists killing others, as they might be forced to do so. What if terrorists took Kamari's family hostage, threatening her to kill others? Sukuna sought Kamari's response, and Kamari firmly answered that she would kill the terrorists. In Kamari's view, the criminals were the terrorists holding families hostage, and without them, the problem would be solved. Sukuna praised Kamari's perspective, then, with a bowed head, admitted that she might not be able to do the same. Sukuna then told Kamari to keep looking at the stars. Sukuna's hands moved to touch Kamari's face, saying that it wouldn't take long. Sukuna's hands seemed like they were going to grasp Kamari's neck. At that moment, someone called Kamari. It turned out to be Vilhays, inviting her to go home as Komari still had work for the next day. With a bit of insistence, Vilhais pulled Komari's hand and took her home. Komari bid farewell to Sukuna. On the way home, Vilhais mentioned that Sukuna was a bit dangerous, sensing a killing intent, even if only a little. Komari argued that it might be just Vilhais' feeling. The scene then shifted to Sukuna's room, where she was seen talking to someone with a magic stone. The person scolded Sukuna for failing to kill Komari, emphasizing not to miss valuable opportunities, as it was the motto of the inverse moon. Sukuna apologized, and the person mentioned that Sukuna would receive a punishment. The person then inquired about Sukuna's family members. Although Sukuna didn't want to answer, under pressure, she revealed having 3 family members: a father, a mother, and a sister. The person threatened to kill them all whenever Sukuna failed, using their ritual tools. To protect her family, Sukuna had to kill all Crimson Lords. The person believed that one Crimson Lord knew the Dark Core's location, and Sukuna's task was to extract that information from their memories using her core implosion power. Sukuna was pessimistic about achieving it, but the person had prepared a gift, a Cornelius secret recipe. The person asserted that Sukuna must have heard about it before and emphasized relying on Sukuna. They warned her not to fall into the same pit as Millicent. Sukuna trembled in agreement, and the conversation ended. Sukuna could only cry. Her chest felt tight and frustration overwhelmed her. She complained about why she had to face such things. Sukuna then remembered Millicent, as they were often compared. As fellow members of Inverse Moon, they had never talked before. Sukuna searched for information about Millicent until she accidentally met Millicent in a seemingly empty room of a building. While sipping tea, Millicent invited Sukuna to sit with her, already knowing that Sukuna was looking for her.